All right, new day, new after hours report. Well, let's look at today. US GDP increased by 3.3% on an annual basis, and for the whole year, the GDP actually grew by 2.5%, which is really good news considering what forecasts they were laying for the year. Oh yeah, will the Fed reduce its timeline for for cutting rates? It's going to be really interesting to watch out because historically speaking, when rates started to be cut, the stock market has started to expand. So it's going to be interesting to see where the S&P and the Dow and the Nasdaq will go from now. Second point, let's look at companies. Really interesting. Tesla just showed that it had a lot of problems with slower sales. So Tesla Musk was always saying, hey, we're going to grow the company 50, 40, 30% a year on the lower side. And now it's not happening. I think they grew by something horrible, and the stock is currently down more than 9%. Which is crazy to think about. I think it's touching the $190 a share level, and it says that the growth will slow in 2024. And on the Musk side, well, he claimed that he wanted greater control of the company. I think his shares around 14 or maybe 18%. And he wants more than 25% in order to influence Tesla over AI or robotics, or he's just going to launch something on the side. So I think, again, Musk antics. In part three, okay, really interesting on the M&A side, because Paramount, which was before Viacom CBS, which was before Viacom and CBS and the merge and everything. It's really interesting, the development. I bought some shares in it because when there is smoke, there is always fire on my side. There were some talks to buy National Amusements, which is it's quite a complicated shareholder structure, but basically you have two classes of shares. You have Paramount A and Paramount B, and on the Paramount A, they basically hold all the voting powers. So one company has most of them. I think they have like 25% of the outstanding shares, so the company is National Amusements, which is still owned by the Redstone family, and they have like 85% voting power, which is quite interesting. And so now, looking at what has been happening on the streaming side with Netflix, Disney, and even Paramount Plus, Paramount is just bleeding money to try to create their streaming platform, whereas CBS is still profitable, but each year, like, revenue keep on declining. So the writing on the wall is clear. All their legacy media, each year it's still the most profitable business, but each year it's decreasing in sales, and they have to do something about it. And so they try to do Paramount Plus, which is the streaming site, and it's not really panning out. I mean, the content is good, but why would anyone? If you see consumers, they have maybe 2 or 3 streaming sites. They're gonna have Netflix, Amazon Prime, because it's part of the bundle with Prime, and maybe something else. And so basically the son of Larry Ellison, which is called David Ellison, has actually launched a company called Skydance Media. And what they want to do is either buy National Amusements, so they have the voting rights on Paramount, and otherwise merge Skydance Media with Paramount, or take Paramount Global completely private, which is actually going to cost a lot, way more than buying National Amusement and then have the rights for Paramount, because it's going to also add $15 billion in debt. The Paramount opportunity has been super interesting because the shares were trading at around $100 when the whole Archegos debacle happened, and then that collapsed. Now the shares were like I looked at them when they were $30. I was like, oh, maybe that's a good investment. I was looking at them at 20, maybe that's a good investment. And then they dropped down to $10. And I mean, the level of IP is crazy. They have like Nickelodeon, MTV. They also produce Top Gun, Mission Impossible, Star Trek. I mean, they have all of these companies, all of these IPs. So now the question is, what's the value behind it? I know that Paramount has around like $30 in book value. That's not tangible. That's just based on the IPs. So you have to have a strong stomach to buy those shares. I believe I do. Well, we'll find out if I lose money, just like with the Spirit still. Eh? And on my last point for today, the Alaska Air expects lower growth for the year and a hit of $150 million from the goddamn door blowing out of the Boeing 737. Boeing has a problem. Boeing has a liability problem because I looked at the Netflix documentary, just talking about streaming, and they were saying, you know, they did so much cost cutting and they wanted to please Wall Street analysts, and so now safety-wise they were cutting all the jobs, and now it's basically like cheap manufacturing, and that issues with Ethiopian and Lion Air. I looked at it as a value pick maybe, but now I always want to buy Airbus instead, even if Airbus is more expensive relative-wise. I prefer to buy a good company at a good price than a bad company at a good price. So, yeah, there it is. And I think Alaskan is planning on having a $3 to $5 a share negative financial impact. And the CEO even drew attention earlier, as he was saying that, you know, he was angry and disappointed with Boeing. So we'll see how the backlog of Boeing orders. Will people start? I mean, will companies start to cancel orders, or is it still going to be crowded because, you know, like transferring their orders to Airbus is not going to pan out? Are they going to wait 10 or 15 years for their orders? So I don't think it's going to happen. So yeah, we'll see. And so guys, that was it for today's edition of the After Hours Report. Don't forget to subscribe for our second edition. And yeah, and if you don't know, we have a newsletter covering the market every day. So if you prefer to read about the market, subscribe to that too. Thank you.